There are currently 3 casino licenses that are up for grabs in the downstate New York region, and the developers around there are putting up a serious fight to win one of those licenses. This all started back in April of 2022 when the availability of these casino licenses and the process for how the licenses would be awarded was all ironed out. As of the last count, 5 developers came forward with pretty detailed plans on exactly what they would do if they were awarded one of these coveted licenses. The latest developer to come forward, which we'll talk about later in this video, is Silverstein Properties. They are a national real estate development firm and one of the best in the business. Silverstein has proposed an incredible project that includes 2 skyscrapers, which would house 1,000 hotel rooms, a restaurant complex, an entertainment complex, a 600,000 square foot casino, and a sky bridge that connects the 2 towers over 500 feet in the air. Whoever ends up actually getting the green light to move forward with their casino plan will have basically hit the lottery. Just wait until you guys see what Silverstein has come up with their proposal. They're definitely pulling out all the stops. Now let's do a little backstory first. Since word got out that these casino licenses would be made available, there were proposals announced for a casino in Times Square, Hudson Yards, Penn Station, Midtown, and the Turtle Bay neighborhood. The rules were made pretty clear. In order to even apply for a license, your project would need to cost at least $500 million bucks. You would need to submit a detailed proposal to the city that outlines what your casino would do for the neighborhood that it's built in. And then for the icing on the cake, the applicant would need to pay a $1 million application fee. As you would expect, this is not the typical project that your everyday developer would be able to get into. We're talking about a very advanced, a very expensive, and a very political project here. The Times Square project consists of a team of Caesars Entertainment, SL Green, and the rapper Jay-Z. They all want to build a state-of-the-art casino at 1515 Broadway in the heart of Times Square. Over in Hudson Yards is another proposal. This one would be the developer Related Companies partnering with Wynn Resorts, who would be building the casino over the undeveloped section of Hudson Yards. Over by Penn Station is where Vornado Realty wants to build a casino where Hotel Pennsylvania used to be, which they say this will add a lot of value to the neighborhood. The Saks Fifth Avenue owner is also throwing his hat in the ring. He wants to build a 200,000 square foot casino on the 9th through 11th floor of his iconic building at 611 Fifth Avenue. Now, all of these groups that we just talked about announced their plans pretty early on in the process, so this was a little while back, but the Silverstein proposal was just announced. Let's get into that next. If you guys haven't heard of Silverstein before, this group is no joke. They were founded in 1957, and these guys are probably most known for their work in the redevelopment of the World Trade Center complex. They currently own a portfolio of over $10 billion worth of real estate around Manhattan, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and Orlando. And the fact that they already own so much real estate is exactly why they were able to give this whole casino thing a shot. See, Silverstein already owns this plot of land here at 514 11th Ave. It's the lot behind this green fence. It's a huge piece of property at West 40th Street and 11th Ave on the west side. I mean, just check out how much space they have here. Well, as far as I can tell, they bought the plot, which used to be a Mercedes dealership, way back in 2015. Shortly after that, they had plans to build an 1,100-foot super tall skyscraper, and they even secured a big $153 million loan for that build. By 2017, they had a change of plans though, and they said they were now aiming to build 2 shorter buildings instead of 1 super tall. Basically, they've owned this plot of land for almost a decade, and they've kind of been all over the place on exactly what they're going to do with it. But their plan has changed slightly yet again, and this new direction is awesome. So check it out. Silverstein actually put all of their photos of the existing site and the renderings into a Dropbox. So let's check these out, starting with this shot here, which just shows the existing site conditions. So that's where that green wall is surrounding what used to be the Mercedes dealership. This aerial view gives us a better perspective on what is still there. So if you guys can see, the outline of the property is right here. It curves around over there and it kind of cuts over this way. And this center section here shows that there is still some concrete and debris left over from the old dealership, but I'm sure they can wipe that out really quick if they get this approval. So here's what you see from the street level of the site. Really nice curb appeal. These first sections here are going to be where all those restaurants are and where the casino itself is. This gives us another angle. So that whole center mass there is again where all that casino action is going to be. And then this bottom level is like a community gallery. Same shot, but at nighttime. When you're looking down at the building from this angle, I'm not really sure what this section is in between the two skyscrapers. I don't know if that'll be retail or office or what. This is the 41st Street entrance. So, I mean, come on, that looks straight up like a Vegas casino. Imagine pulling your car, your taxi up into here and just getting out and walking to a casino. That's a pretty wild concept for Manhattan, let's be real. From what I read, the developer really wanted to focus on the curb appeal from every direction. So all of this art you see is very intentional, and these overhangs, I mean, they did a really nice job. This here is just a mock-up of what one of the interiors could look like. Not too much to see here, but I like it as a clean, simple finish palette. Then they show us where that sky bridge is. So this is like 500 or 600 feet up. There's this bridge that connects the two buildings, and this is actually where the entertainment floor is going to be. Could you imagine going to basically a Broadway show, but doing it way up here on like the 40-something floor? That would be so cool to be sitting up here watching a show and having a view. Then last, they show us that zoomed out perspective. We already looked at this one, and this is the same one I probably will use in the thumbnail because this is an awesome shot, but really cool building. It's definitely unusual, but it still kind of blends in with everything else in the area. To be clear, what we just looked at was just a bunch of renderings. Silverstein in reality is pretty far from actually getting approval to move forward with this project, but I think they have a pretty good shot at one of these licenses, and here's why. See, the weighting system for selecting applicants for this project is going to be 70% economic activity and business development, 10% local impact, 10% workforce enhancement, and 10% diversity framework. Well, Silverstein's project is going to create 4,000 well-paid union construction jobs, followed by 5,500 permanent union jobs. It will provide over 100 apartments that will be designated as affordable housing. The location is pretty prime because it's kind of on the outskirts of town, so it shouldn't have any huge negative impact on surrounding businesses. The 45th floor will be that performance hall that we talked about earlier, which will be available for shows. Their point here is to complement, not compete with Broadway theaters. Their plan is to build the entire project all electric with no fossil fuels on site, which by the way sounds great, but any of you construction workers out there, please let me know in the comments how in the world it's going to be possible to build a skyscraper with literally no fuel on site. They're going to be doing a neighborhood impact and public safety study to ensure that this project will be a good fit for the surrounding Hell's Kitchen and Hudson Yards neighborhoods. And of course, this will generate billions of dollars in direct and indirect economic activity for the state and the city. These commercial developers have to jump through a ton of hoops just to get their project seen and heard. I looked around though, and I didn't see any of those projects that we talked about earlier put together a press release that's as detailed as what Silverstein did. So not only are some of those other projects not painting the best picture in terms of what the city wants to see, but some of them are even being opposed. Check it out, the Times Square project in particular, this is the one with Jay-Z behind it. An entire website was built called NoTimesSquareCasino.com. There's this whole group who's standing up and opposing this project, saying the casino in Times Square will bring too much congestion, it's going to undermine the recovery that Times Square has had up until now, and it's going to cause severe economic disruption to the surrounding businesses. Getting a casino approved in Manhattan is obviously no easy task, but it's pretty fun to see the best in the business just duke it out for a license that ultimately is going to make their business billions and billions of dollars over the coming years. We should know how all this shakes out soon. Best of luck to Silverstein. I'll see you guys next time.